This is Carla Pendleton again, back with the third video in the series, Painting Clematis, using a one-fire finger painted technique. And you'll remember with this clematis, we did start with laying in these petals with our fingers and then detailed with a brush. In the second video, we went over leaves. They are elongated and rectangular, but they're similar to rose leaves, just longer and maybe less square. And so we did several of those, and so you can look at the first two videos to get that teaching. Right now, in this video, this third video, I'd like to go over angles, different angles for viewing of the clematis. And this, I mentioned, is an Arabella clematis. Arabella are very, very popular in my mind just because they are so adaptable. There's varieties with 4 petals, 5 petals like we see here, and 6 petals like you see with most clematis. The leaves on the normal or other varieties of the clematis, the leaves are a bit fatter and larger. The petals can also be a bit fatter. So, you paint it the way your design calls for. I like the Arabella I mentioned because I can so easily convert them into a columbine if I want to do that at the end as I start finalizing my design. But today we're going to talk a little bit about design just because your designs are so much more interesting if you have multiple flowers of different shapes. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how do we paint these on a two-dimensional surface that makes them look three-dimensional, like they're tilting away from us rather than fully facing us. So first we can start with the concept of how do you paint that and give it a different shape. Well, first of all, you need to understand the general shape of the flower. If I go petal to petal with this flower, I'm going to make a very rough circle. Yeah, very rough because I have a hard time drawing a circle. But at any rate, point to point, it's basically circular. In a two-dimensional space, to change the shape and show more of the side, we would be painting more of an oval. And let me see if I can't make sure that I'm showing up on camera here. So we'd be painting something that would fit inside an oval rather than a circle. And of course, the longer and narrower you make that oval, the flatter and the shape of the flower will change. So it's tilting away from us or sometimes tilting toward us, depending on the angle from the viewer. But at any rate, so we go from circular with the full flower to more of an oval shape. That's going to give us the illusion of the flower being seen from a different angle. So how do we accomplish that? If we decide that we have too many fully facing flowers and we need to change one of them somehow to a little bit more of a side view, just a little bit different shape to give our design more interest. Well, the first thing I would do normally is get rid of my circle that I've drawn on here. That would be a good place to start. We can also get rid of some of this background color, the leaves from the last video, and we'll get rid of this outline that I've drawn just so we don't have that additional distraction. All right, so we've still got some of the background. Of course, we've still got our original flower, and we're just going to convert that into something that looks a little bit more like we're seeing it from the side rather than fully facing us. Let me just clean this edge up a little bit. So the first thing we would do is we want to shorten these 3 petals. These 2 will be flipping more closely to us, and so they will be wider at the base. And so we're going to be looking at more of an oval. Let's just lightly sketch that in. Oval. So we need to foreshorten this one. We're going to need to get that one a little bit different angle. We're going to have to move some of this paint away. And we're going to have to foreshorten these. Now, rather than just moving paint away, I think I prefer to add some paint so that I don't lose too much of my color here. Now I'm going to pick up some of the cobalt blue that I have here with a little bit of black green loaded on the left corner. And I'm just going to come in here and start to smudge this into the background, these petals. Of course, I'm also losing that oval that I lightly sketched in there. That's okay. We'll lose it all. You can start pulling this out towards the background. And let me make sure I'm still on camera here. Yep, looks good. Let's go ahead and clean up this top edge first. And I may also want to smudge out a bit of this center right here. Just lightly pull it in because we're going to be seeing this flower from the side. It's going to be more side facing. Don't want to lose all the color, but we do want to smudge out those petals that are against the wet background. So this is the easiest place to start here. Is let's go ahead and make this like it's a flipped over. We can't see all of it. Some of it is back behind this edge here. And that also means that we would probably be pulling some of these stamen in further. Okay, so we're starting to get our oval shape here. Let's clean up a few more edges just so we don't get lost in them. These are going to stay about the same. You could lengthen them out if you need to, but I don't think we'll need to for this one. And let's go ahead and smooth that edge. And if you want to, you can show a little tip coming back here, just to give the illusion that that tip is out there, but we don't see much of it. It's just barely hanging in there on that edge. Okay, now let's kind of sketch in. I'm just going to use my wipeout tool to sketch in where I want these foreshortened petals. These are the ones that we just kind of smudged out, and we're going to change the angle. We're going to widen them. They're going to be wider and shorter than they were originally. That's in keeping with our oval shape. And then we'll have the other one coming out again, wider and shorter, and maybe overlapping here a bit. And so now we have a different angle and a different shape on this clematis. Okay, so the next thing to do is to pick up a 1/2-inch brush. This size is what I'm using. Let me show it to you on the piece where you can see it. And I'm going to not triple load that. I'm going to load that with a heavy load of the blue and a little bit of the French mauve, which is kind of a blue purple. So here's what you see. Now let me see if I can't get it where you can see how heavily I've loaded that brush, because I'm really going to lay in paint here, and I want the color, but I don't want to lose a lot of the background color. I need that for later. So here's our C strokes on one side. Turn around. I'm going to reload my brush because I've left a lot of paint behind here. And I'm going to do the comma strokes, always going towards the center, but we're foreshortening things now. I think I need a little bit more blue there. I've picked up a lot of the background color, which is okay. Now let's get the other one in front. This one's foreshortened, and we're going to have it come right across the top of the other petal and pull in. Again, those very shallow C strokes, followed by turning the other direction and pulling in those comma strokes. Ooh, I got that one carried away, didn't I? That's all right. We will fix it up when we detail. All right, now we're starting to see if we trace these edges, we're going to start seeing that this flower is now become more of an oval shape. It's not circular anymore. It's more of an oval. And that's what we're looking at, so we know we're in the right track. Let's just go ahead and get in here and detail now. I'm going to go to a smaller brush. It's about a 1/4 inch brush. And I'm loading with medium. I'm coming in here, pulling out some of the, I didn't get any, I need a little bit of the color on the brush, a light load, not a heavy load, but a light load, to pull in those highlights. Now here's those comma strokes. And now I'm going to just detail this edge a little bit more on this lighter side. And now I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to pull in toward the center instead of doing the comma strokes. Okay, let's see if we can't get a better highlight right along this edge. Come in, soften that, always pulling your strokes from the inside of that highlight towards the outer edge of those petals, that petal. And it's always on the diagonal. All right, now let's do the second one, this other one. Right here, let's just sketch it in again just so we know where we're going. And we want that a sharp highlight against the darker area under of the petal underneath. Now I'm going to reload my brush with medium and pick up a little bit more of the blue, cobalt blue and French burgundy combination. Actually, now that I think about it, it's not French burgundy. It's navy and cobalt blue, I believe. Anyway, whatever I said in the first, I'm still using the same palette from the first video. And now I'm reloading, coming back in here, pulling from the outside edge of the petal diagonally towards where the stem would connect, or where this center vein will be. And let's give it another highlight here. And maybe we'll pull it this direction, just for something different. So you're going to begin in that highlighted area. I haven't cleaned my brush, but I am wiping it against the paper towel just to remove some of the built-up paint so I can get those highlights on there the way I want them. And we will do some more highlights. This is the top edge of the petal that's most visible to us. So let's put a little more highlight on it. And then another sharp defining the edge highlight right along here. Again, always moving those strokes toward the center bottom of the flower where the petal connects with the stamen. Okay, so we clearly see the oval shape here. We can see that we have now changed that into a foreshortened. And if you don't want to see that tip, you certainly do not have to. You can also change this so that it's more of a, you can show it as a full petal. if you want to. I think it looks better as a partial petal myself, partially turned back or turned forward, either one. So if we get a nice edge right there, we can flip it back like that. And that's another way to foreshorten that back petal, which is pretty easy to do. Just sketch in that tip, and then we'll probably need to come in here, put a little bit more color in behind that turn back. And I'm using my darkest blue here, the navy. And there it is. And I think I almost lost that edge. I'm going to pull it back in again. You get the idea. We just need this back petal shorter and these two front petals shorter. And then we are good to go. Of course, we'll have to repaint that center, and because now we're seeing a foreshortened version of this. We're looking at a side, more of a side view. And so let's get that stamen combination with the lemon yellow and the white enamel. I'm going to have to re-moisten that. It's been a while. It's been sitting here for a while. And it's starting to get a little drier than I like. I had several days between filmings on this. So I'm just adding a little bit of the medium to it, clean medium. So my automatic recording timeout came up again. I don't know why it does that. One of these days I'll figure it out, but it won't be today. So here I'm continuing with developing this flower, which I've basically created. And I want to clean out a little bit of this stamen before I end up muddying the yellows. So I'm just going to wipe some out. I don't want a muddy center, but I do want a center that's shaped a little bit differently, since we're seeing this more from the side. And so we begin at the base, pull that yellow in, and you're just loading that, using a liner brush, loading in plenty of that lemon yellow and white enamel mixture to form the stamen. I don't know that I will do just a whole lot more with that. Maybe just a couple of little foreshortened stamen right here at the base, just to keep giving us the illusion that the flower is tilting more away from us. And then I'll also add a little more hint of English orange, mostly because the yellow is going to eat that during the firing. So I want to put a little bit more than I really want to see in the final fire. And there, I think we have it. I'll leave it at that. You can definitely see that this shape is more oval than it was. And of course, the more you tilt the flower, the more flat this oval becomes. Until, you're actually starting to twist the flower and you're seeing the back of it more than the front of it. But you need to learn to do these just because they're different, and it lends a more interesting shapes to your flowers in your design. If you don't have everything facing the same way, like soldiers lined up, that's what my mother used to say anyway. Like little soldiers lined up in a parade. The design is not pleasing. It's fun to watch the parade, but it's not very pleasing in your artwork. So there we have a different angle, and while I still have a little recording time left, I'm going to try and put a bud on here so that you can see that's yet another way that you can tilt the flower and give some more interest to your design. And the buds are pretty easy. You know the basic shape of the flower. Let's see if it, maybe I have more room down here. Let's do a bud from this angle. So I've got those bottom petals coming out. Now I'm using the 3/4 inch. I could do this with my fingers, actually, and maybe I should show you that way. Pull in another petal here, and maybe a third over here showing. We don't need to see all 5 petals in the bud. Some of them just haven't opened yet. So let's just paint in 3 for the basic start. Boy, that's even heavy even for me. I think I'm going to thin that one down a little bit. All right. So now we'll clean up this edge a bit. Hopefully, I better get this. You can see it all. And then we will pick up that 1/2 inch brush. Again, don't need the 3/4 inch since I just finger painted on the paint. Pick up a light load of your petal color. Come in here and shape and highlight. And if you prefer to do all of this with your brush, do it with your brush, like I did that very first petal. I kind of like to get my fingers dirty. And we'll get a little bit more detail on this back here. In fact, let's turn this one back. Let's put a little bit of a turn back on that. We'll bring out the tip here. I'm going to get a little bit more color so that I get a nice shadow under there. I think I'll lengthen this one out a little too. Again, we're kind of seeing it from the side, so we're going to be seeing an oval shape here. Go ahead and turn that part back. And then we'll put another petal right in here that's starting to unfurl right across that direction. Maybe just foreshorten it again, because we're seeing this bud from the side. Now shape it with my wipeout tool, then come back in and pull those highlights back towards where the cap will be eventually. And I think I didn't get enough paint off of there. So let's, after it again, and then soften those highlighting strokes, pull them back towards where the cap will be eventually, the tip of the flower. Pull this in a little bit too, so that we know this petal is overlapping the other two just a bit. Get more of a highlight maybe down one edge. And this time, let's pull it from the middle of the highlight towards the outer edge of the petal. Still a little bit strong. Let's pull it the other way and just smudge it out a little bit. There's where our petal is going to attach, and then our cap is going to be over here. Yeah, I need to do that triple load. Chartreuse, old gold green, and then a little black green for the cap here. And it's okay to pick up some of that flower color on the cap. Hopefully get that centered in the screen. And now we would put a stem on it, maybe that attaches right there. Now I'm just using my liner, and it comes back around like this and maybe cuts itself so that we don't have too long of a line there. All right, so that's what everything is looking like. Let me go ahead and give you a last view of this, close up, right angles. So here's our flower that we have translated into a side view from the full view. And here is the bud. Painting buds is fairly simple. Don't overthink it. Don't overpaint it. They're fun. They should be loose. So thank you so much for your kind attention. Next video, we'll be discussing how to convert this flower into a columbine. Hey, have a wonderful weekend. It's Good Friday here in Texas, and we're looking forward to a blessed and wonderful celebration of Resurrection Sunday. Thanks for your kind attention. Give me a call. If you have any questions, don't comment. I just don't do well with comments. It takes too long to answer them, too many words for one simple question. So I'd be delighted to speak with you, hear your voice anytime with questions, concerns, or, hey, tips about videography are always welcome as well. Bye-bye now.